Good day. This is Frank Saline, Third Level Consulting, CEO, and bringing you today a brief recorded webinar on hiring, orientation, and dismissal. During the month of January 2014, we looked at this in three segments. One was hiring and a document set for that. The other was orientation and onboarding and a second documentation set for that. And third was dismissal and firing, with yet another document set 3. Today's brief recorded webinar and the associated document set combines all three of those document sets into one 32-page PDF, as you will see here on this recording. In addition, every single one of those documents is available usually in both Word and PDF format for your own use as a template to add to your own library or to train your own staff with our materials. That's what we're here for. Number one was the hiring document set, and this featured the lead article, which was Hiring Great People, and of course Warren Buffett's three qualities: integrity, intelligence, and energy. And I love his quote here: if you don't have the first one, the other two will kill you. So this is a 9-step basically process to ask yourself about hiring people. And then 10th is the reality check that the proof is still in the pudding. But we're all going to have people that are either the moving, who have high aspirations, value their own skills, are strongly engaged with work, form alliances for upward orientation, and use active form of protest, meaning that they bring solutions as well. Whereas the stuck in possibly your organization, mine, other people, they consistently lower their aspirations, they downvalue their own skills, they're disengaged, they form protective peer groups, and they resist passively. So you want to have these people that are moving, not stuck, and of course that's part of our responsibility as well. The next phase of hiring is basically recruiting, and this is a hot topic. There's a lot of ideas on recruiting. One has to do with doing it from the inside out and growing your own staff and possible parents as potential instructors, counselors, caregivers, entertainers, etc. So the recruiting is a difficult process at best, but we want to do this from the inside out, much the same as we want to do internal marketing to retain our customers, just as much as we want to do external marketing to acquire them. So you want to have an external and internal plan of recruiting. Of course, you have your own employee orientation type of checklist. This is just a sample one with 5 or 6 different steps at each phase. You'll do it for your own organization, and of course, according to the laws of Australia, Canada, Mexico, the UK, wherever you are, or the US. And similarly, when you start looking at a document like this with lawful and unlawful pre-employment interview questions, you definitely want to be sure that you're working through attorneys in your city, state, province, county, country, etc., because things do vary a little bit. So it's kind of important that you get legal opinion on this, although generally lawful and unlawful hiring questions are somewhat similar. When it comes to the hiring process, we want to use smart hiring questions. And there is a document here from Dorothy Leeds, who wrote this for the Old National Swim School Association. Excellent. There were some really, really good questions in here, and an idea of some of the type of sub-questions that you might ask to get people thinking. You'll have your own application, of course, the way you want to do it. At the Wings Center, my wife Shauna Swank-Saline has long given a document called Advice to Applicants, along with the application itself, meaning that it kind of lets them know how to fill out the application, read it through, and let them know that we are not just after any job. We're after somebody who really, really wants to be locked into our future and our goals as well. So if they don't read that Advice to Applicants, the chances are they won't fill out the application effectively or well, and that reduces their chances of being hired on by us. The other thing I'd like to say about hiring is that you need to regard yourself and your organization as having great jobs to offer. We really do. It's a phenomenal environment and a phenomenal industry, the Children's Learning Opportunity Center industry, and we need to regard ourselves as such. People will read that one way or the other. There are also tips on group interviewing, which is a process of using being effective in hiring. When you're hiring among a group of several applicants, there's a group interview technique with the following objectives, process, and outcomes. If you do it right, it's phenomenally useful. The second part that we went through when we started looking at this whole orientation and onboarding segment was, first of all, the background check questionnaire. And you might just say, on this verification, how do we do this? There's a verification and some ratings that you could use as a template for connecting with other companies, just to get their input in just a very, very quick way. We also included here what we called a primer on reference checking, so we'd have a little bit better idea as far as some of the, again, legalities, which again you're going to want to check. The whole goal is to get people talking when you're trying to get experts. Yeah, well, I guess reference experts theoretically, which is what they've listed. When we're trying to get these previous employers to give us useful information. So there's a document here regarding that. It's very, very good. I think you'll find it very useful to read these things over first. There is a concept called the first 100 days in orientation and onboarding, and it kind of describes what we're trying to do in that first 100 days. What's the goal? There's a couple of company examples from other companies and what they do. Third, and maybe finally here, there is an all about you sheet, which means that anybody who is hired, we want an immediate bio from them. Obviously, they've given us a resume, but we'd still like to know maybe some personal things about their experience that weren't on a resume, or certifications, achievements, accomplishments, their hobbies, a few of their favorite foods or movies, or something extra that we'd like to know about them, or that they'd like us to know about them, something special. It gives them a chance to sell themselves a little bit and establish themselves as a human being in our organization, not just merely an employee. One thing you might find useful that some of our clients have asked us about is a hiring return on investment worksheet, which looks at all the ways we might be marketing along the left for staff, and we should be continuously hiring, by the way. There's another tip for you. That's what the big companies do. They never just hire when they have a need. They're continuously hiring so that their chances of getting a solid and worthwhile candidate are much, much higher. We can always hire the character and train the skill, and sometimes we will make sure that we have got employment for them. The more diverse our operations are, the more we can keep a great candidate around for a little while till they find their stride. Finally, under dismissal and firing is several documents. This one, it always cracks me up to read this. The secret to having happy employees is simply to fire the unhappy ones. And people in the room usually laugh. I've tried this one out a few times and everybody laughs at this, but it actually is true. We are, in our industry, typically slow to fire and quick to hire, and it needs to be exactly the opposite way around. We need to be slower to hire, put a few gates up there to see if they'll climb through them, and quicker to release, because, as he states, it's remarkable how much damage one person can actually do. Along the lines of firing and dismissal, of course, a few other quick documents here. I'm not going to read them to you, but legal dismissal reasons. When can you legally fire employees? Again, this is different, possibly state to province to country, etc. But you should know them and have it documented so that if you're not the one doing this firing, termination, dismissal, that somebody will have some guidelines and not get your company into trouble. System for this. We've utilized over time a 3-warning system. One's a written warning of the problem. The second one is along the lines of a second warning on the same offense. So reasons relating to the first warning. And third of all would be actually termination of employment with, again, reasons relating to the first and second warnings. Those things are actually pretty important. We also included 9 dismissal tips, some things that you can do to prepare the employee and prepare yourself for dismissal or firing. There's an interview for exits there. If it's amenable, or maybe even if it's not, asking a few questions on the exit interview is useful. This goes on for a couple of pages. And then additional for somebody who is satisfied, maybe it's just somebody who's actually moving or whatever, just moving on. There's different possible questions for a satisfied departing employee as opposed to someone who is disgruntled, slightly at least. So at any rate, that's the little recorded webinar for today. I try to keep them to 10 minutes or so. Glad you joined us and that you enjoy this entire set on hiring, orientation, and dismissals. Thanks so much.